A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on MTV Sports. My name is Ravi Gamage.
A very good evening. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
That was the behavior of a group of members of the Yatinura Pradesh Sabha.
We have details of that story later on in the news bulletin, but for now, let's take a look at tonight's headlines.
Speaking at the UN Human Rights Council, the Foreign Minister of Thailand commends Sri Lanka's reconciliation efforts. Court issues an enjoining order preventing the official residence of the Mayor of Colombo from being handed over to a third party. Demonstrations continue against the fuel price hike. And Sri Lanka suffers a crushing defeat at the hands of India and must win the next game to book a place in the Tri-Series final.
Moving on to the stories in detail now. Speaking at the 19th Human Rights Sessions of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland yesterday, Thailand's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Surapong Tawitok Chaiku, said that Sri Lanka has made considerable advances towards national reconciliation and sustainable development. Meanwhile, Minister of State, Foreign Commonwealth Office of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Jeremy Brown, said that they hope that the Sri Lankan government will implement the recommendations in the LLRC report.
It should take into account the views of countries concerned and the efforts they have made. It should also allow adequate time to exhaust domestic remedies and engage them in the whole deliberation process. Such an approach is indeed applicable to the case of Sri Lanka, which has made considerable advances towards national reconciliation and sustainable development. After years of strife, we view that Sri Lanka homegrown process should be prioritized to address the remaining issues. We thus support the Sri Lanka government's voluntary engagement with the international community. We also value its effort to consider how to best implement the recommendations of the Lesson Learned and Reconciliation Commission, LLRC.
We, as the UN member states, all of us, must take seriously our human rights obligations. And where states fail, the institutions of the UN should act and support change. Such actions are what make the Council an effective human rights body, able to scrutinise states' compliance with their obligations and offer technical assistance. I hope the Sri Lankan government will see that it is in this spirit of support and cooperation that countries call on them to implement the recommendations made by their Lessons Learnt and Reconciliation Commission. But the Council's role goes beyond addressing human rights concerns in specific countries. It is extremely important that the Council also continues to address the thematic human rights issues which cut across a range of country situations.
Meanwhile, issuing a communique, the Council of the European Union has stated that the EU will support efforts aimed at keeping the issue of accountability in Sri Lanka on the agenda of the Human Rights Council. It noted that the EU will encourage the government of Sri Lanka to fully implement the recommendations of the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission as a first step. The communique was issued following the 3149th Foreign Affairs Council meeting of the European Union held in Brussels yesterday.
Meanwhile, speaking from Geneva, Special Advisor to the President on Human Rights, Minister Mahinda Samarasinha said that a number of ambassadors and delegations had told him that his speech at this opening session of the 19th session of the UN Human Rights Council had been definitive. They have also said that they are happy about the progress made in Sri Lanka over a short span of time.
The response to the statement has been excellent. It has been very well received. Soon after my statement, the Thai Foreign Minister who addressed the Council made it quite clear that they will be fully supportive of Sri Lanka. A number of ambassadors, delegations have come and met our team and congratulated us and quite clear that they are very sympathetic towards Sri Lanka's position. They have also made it known that after listening to the speech, that they were informed of very definite progress that has been made in a very short period of time, and that they were very happy to hear this. So that was in fact our purpose of making such a comprehensive statement. Even the copies of the speech were seized up immediately. In fact, we had to rush back to get fresh copies. Even this morning we had to provide copies. So it has been very good.
One of Sri Lanka's path-breaking Sinhala newspapers, Ravaya, celebrated its 25th anniversary today.
The first 25 years of Ravaya's pioneering brand of journalism have been dedicated towards establishing a disciplined society. First begun as a current affairs magazine on the 25th of November 1986, Ravaya soon evolved into a voice that paved the way for change. Appearing at times as a monthly magazine and at another time as a weekend newspaper, Ravaya, through its unique platform, has throughout the years created space for revolutionary ideologies.
ගත වෙච්ච අවුරුදු 25 දිහා පස්ස බලනවට වඩා අපි වැඩි කැමැත්තක් දක්වන්නේ ඉදිරි අවුරුදු 25 දිහා.
We would prefer to look at the next 25 years than look back at the 25 years that were. It was from the British that we received a democratic system of governance. However, our leaders never thought that we need to have a united nation and a democratic society in order to take this democratic system forward. That is why there was bloodshed during the past 3 decades. I do not think that a government alone can face these issues. We must come together, and it is only through a process of national reconciliation that we can overcome this situation.
තනියෙන් මුණ දෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා එකට එකතු වෙලා මුළු රටම ප්‍රතිසංවිධානය කරන වැඩසටහනකින් පමණයි මේ තත්ත්වය ජය ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, a function was held today with the participation of President Mahinda Rajapaksa to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Ravaya newspaper. The event was held at the BMICH in Colombo this evening.
AI ලංකාවේ මානව හිමිකම් ගැන ප්‍රශ්න මතු කරලා ලංකාවට එනීම කටයුතු කරනකොට
Today, when they create problems about human rights and act against Sri Lanka, it is the unity, the peace of this country and the freedom of this country that is destroyed. It can be protected only if everyone unites regardless of their party, race or ethnicity. Development cannot be brought about without peace, and peace cannot be brought about without development. At this time, we need to free ourselves from the narrow-minded concept that uniting for the country will prevent one from coming to power.
සංවර්ධනය තුළ සාමයවත් උදා කරන්න බෑ. මේ කාරණාවලදී රට වෙනුවෙන් එකතු වෙන එක බලයට ඒකට බාධාවක් කියන පටු ආකල්පයකින් අපි බැහැර වෙන්න.
Demonstrations were held in several areas across the island today as well to protest against a probable draft resolution on Sri Lanka at the 19th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, currently underway in Geneva, Switzerland.
This demonstration was held opposite the Port Authority in Colombo this morning. A large number of people gathered for the demonstration organised by the Sri Lanka Freedom Employees Union of the Ports Authority. The entire nation is rallying against this conspiracy to sabotage the country's development. I would like to state that while the maximum will be done within the country to defeat this, we will also single-mindedly work with unity so that a message will be sent to the international community.
For the
entire duration of this session in Geneva, state workers are taking measures to take to the streets during their lunch breaks to protest over this conspiracy against the country. Steps are being taken at every state institution to do this during lunch breaks throughout the duration of this conference. Meanwhile, another demonstration in support of the government was held in Galgamua. Another similar demonstration was held in Kalmune. A large group of persons, including public representatives, participated in this demonstration.
In related news, General Secretary of the United National Party, Tissa Attanayake, states that although the party had communicated its stance to the government regarding the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission report, there has been no response as yet.
Although we informed the President and the government about our recommendations and the stance of the United National Party and how the LLRC report should be implemented, we have not received a proper response. The government has not commented on it and has remained silent. But now they are telling the Human Rights Council that they are prepared to implement all the LLRC recommendations. This could have been discussed at diplomatic level. That is what we wish to know.
Democratic National Alliance parliamentarian Arjuna Ranatunga says that the time has come for everyone to unite as one country. He expressed this view during a function at the Shailya Ramya in the Nagoda South area in Kalutara.
පෞගිය කාලේ මේ රටේ ජීවන වියදම එන්න අධික වුණා. පෙට්‍රල් වලට ඩීසල් වලට ලාම්පු තෙල් වල මිල වැඩි වුණාම
The cost of living in the country has gradually increased in the recent past. The price of petrol, diesel and kerosene has increased. The general public held massive demonstrations in the country owing to this. However, the human rights issue is being brought forward in a bid to undermine all of this. Merely because they take to the streets, shout and hold demonstrations, nobody in those countries would be aware of what is happening. There is a process and a method of doing it. What we see is that this method has been undermined to a great extent. The time has come to join hands as one country and as Sri Lankans. Although we may have different political opinions, we need to unite at this point of time. This is the time for us to unite as the nation and not allow anybody to influence the country.
කිසිම කෙනෙකුට බලපෑමක් කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැති ජාතියක් හැටියට අපි එකට එකතු වෙ යුතු කාලයක්.
Meanwhile, the band of the Gurukula Junior School in Mathugama was launched today under the patronage of MP Arjuna Ranatunga. The students of the band were presented with the necessary musical instruments and uniform.